Hey guys, it's Liv here. In today's video, we're going to be using a new VGC team built by my good pal Clutch sometimes to help celebrate the insane upward trend of Hydreigon in VGC. Over this past weekend, there was the first Limitless Tour, and Hydreigon had 6 out of the 9 teams make top cut, with all 4 semifinals teams and beyond being Hydreigon based. So if you guys want to use Hydreigon and you want to get in on this insane meta trend, link to the teams down below as well as the rental code, and make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more. Comment your thoughts down below, and with that said, let's get started. First up, of course, in this team, we do have Clear Amulet Tyranitar. For anyone who's unaware, and maybe this is their first VGC video of the generation, which is understandable, meta's pretty new, but basically this item is insane. It's a really easy way for Tyranitar on Dragon Dance sets especially to have a ton of use, because you'll be able to actually avoid losing any sort of stat changes through the entire game. Clear Amulet makes it so your opponent cannot lower your stats. This means through Intimidate, through status moves, you name it, Tyranitar cannot be affected by it. So if I get up a +1 Dragon Dance, I'm keeping this forever. I also have Protect, which is great for any sort of priority options if I need to take out Pokemon that might have Mach Punch or any stray priority, or even just to take a stray hit. And then I have Rock Slide and Crunch. These are our primary stabs, and it's honestly all Tyranitar needs in most matchups. Up next, we do have Goldengo, of course. We brought yet another Tera Water Goldengo with Life Orb. We have Shadow Ball, Make It Rain, Protect, and Nasty Plot. Truthfully, this is, in my opinion, just the best set on Goldengo at this point for doubles. It's great at getting around all of the Sun Spam that we've been seeing going around, as well as in general, Ghost and Steel is so amazing in this metagame. There's very few Pokemon that actually can take on this type combination outside of Terastling and try and get around Goldengo that way. But we'll get into one that can in a bit when we do get down the list. For now though, honestly, this Plot Goldengo has been really good as a breaker. It's been really good to avoid status, especially through Pokemon like Amoonguss that riddle the meta on pretty much every team right now. So had to include it again. Up next, we have Mental Herb Amoonguss. Pretty standard set, again, just meant to be a really good spore machine, with Pollen Puff being great support for Pokemon like Tyranitar, as well as for Hydreigon, which neither of them have recovery, of course. Raise Powder is great for redirection. This is especially useful in tandem with Tyranitar and Goldengo, which both do have setup options in their set, with Dragon Dance on Tyranitar, of course, and Nasty Plot on Goldengo. So this Rage Powder support is really necessary here. Clear Smog's great, especially for non-Tera Steel sets for Dondozo, because Dondozo Geary, of course, is able to get an insane option for status boosting with the Commander ability, and this is a great way around that. Up next, we do have the Man of the Hour, or the Pokemon of the Hour, I should say, Hydreigon, which is an Assault Vest set with Draco Meteor, Dark Pulse, Flash Cannon, and Flamethrower. This ends up opting for Tera Steel, which helps it with a lot of different matchups. For example, one of the things that Hydreigon has a terrible time against would be Sylveon. However, with Assault Vest plus Tera Steel, we go from insanely weak to Sylveon and getting O-code by it, to being like 6-7 hit KO'd by Sylveon. Not only this, but with the dual stab combination, you're able to honestly take out a majority of the metagame with how many dragons are out right now. You're able to pressure Pokemon like Garchomp fairly easily, because you'll not only resist Dragon with Tera Steel, but you're also immune to ground attacks and resistant to rock. So this is honestly a great Garchomp check. On top of this as well, pre-Terastal, you're actually an insanely good response to Armarouge, and Armarouge and DD Torkoal is an insane core right now, and this is an incredible check to that, especially with the Assault Vest. Overall, this is basically just great against every common archetype right now besides Dondozo Geary, and even still, it's not exactly terrible against that either. Dondozo's not known for its high SPDF, and on top of this, depending on the Tera type, it might not even be able to touch you that well. So overall, Hydreigon's kind of a monster right now, I can't lie. If you asked me pre-generation if I thought this Pokemon would be good, I barely thought it'd be viable, but I'll objectively eat my own words here. This mon is kind of filthy right now. Rotom washes up next with the Citrus Berry. We have Will-O-Wisp, Thunderbolt, Protect, and Hydro Pump. Honestly, just standard Rotom. Tera Electric just because it boosts Thunderbolt. Probably not going to be a common Tera option in this team, but it's just really good because Rotom's kind of obnoxious to KO right now. Not a lot of mons really match up well against it. There's very few grass types outside of Tera, with the best one I could think of being like Meowscarada at this point. There's not a lot that really outright destroys Rotom, but at the same time, well, I guess Amoonguss also would be a great one. Amoonguss is a great check to it, but we're not a Tera Fire set because we don't really need to. Between Hydreigon walling it, at the very least offensively speaking, and still chewing any sort of hits from it anyway. We have Goldengo, which outright is completely fucking over every Amoonguss, and also our final mon of the team, of course, being Skeledirge. We're not really scared of Amoonguss, so I didn't need the Tera Fire Rotom in here. But with Skeledirge, this is a great option, especially around Steel-type Dozogiris. I did mention there was a one set that we could not clear Smog with Amoonguss, and with Skeledirge, we're able to absolutely chew that anyway. With Torch Song and Shadow Ball, it's a great primary stab option, or a dual stab option, I should say. Slack Off is great for recovery, and with Protect, we're able to get some leftovers recovery back, as well as just scout any sort of priority hits. We're Terastal Fairy on the set, and it's mostly just a defensive thing. It does help a lot with stuff such as dark attacks that would be incoming. It helps wall a lot of different dragons that are plaguing the meta right now, and overall, it's just an incredible defensive piece here. With that said, though, let's get right into the battles. Until then, peace out, guys. Hey guys, we're here today using this new team built around Vest Hydreigon. If you guys enjoy the content, want to see more like it, of course, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to see more doubles content on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. With that said, of course, we do have a very interesting team comp here. This consists of Garchomp, Mimikyu, Tauros, Paldea, Rotom Wash. I think I said Torkoal already, but just in case, Torkoal, and then Electrode. So as far as my opponent's lead goes, I'm kind of anticipating that my opponent goes for Mimikyu plus Torkoal, assuming that they're not specs. Otherwise, I could maybe see Mimikyu plus Electrode leading, with Mimikyu going for Trick Room and then Electrode going for some sort of Tera Normal Explosion. Could be pretty interesting here. Regardless, though, I think that my lead, honestly, is definitively going to be Hydreigon. I think Hydreigon should be a pretty decent option here. And I think I'm also going to bring a Mungus, I think. That should be a decent option to spore my opponent's team, and it should take it pretty well. I'm going to bring Tyranitar in the back for certain, and I think I'm also going to bring Rotom Wash in the back. That should be a decent Garchomp check in case of a Mungus fainting for whatever reason. But good luck and fun to my opponent. Also, I will say for anyone who's new, or for anyone who maybe first VGC vid that we're doing since I got a very fun trade last night. I was watching one of Mume's streams. I got one of her Quaxleys. It's so fucking adorable. I'm bringing it to my first VGC regional. I just had to absolutely show it off. It's gonna be the trainer card from now on, because I've been doing the gimmick of changing it for every mon we're focusing on. It's no longer happening. I gotta keep this one instead. This one was really adorable. So my opponent does end up leading off with, I think I saw Electrode. I was too caught up on my tangent. Electrode Mimikyu. Okay, this is 100% Tera Normal. We're in Tera Steel, and I'm going to go for the Flash Cannon on Mimikyu, and then I'm going to go for the Spore on Mimikyu. My opponent's 100% going to go for Trick Room plus Explosion here. I cannot see a world where they do otherwise. It doesn't seem like they're going for the Tera Normal Explosion, so they're going for Tera Fire Torkoal. They're still 100% going to go for Explosion this turn, though. I cannot see any other play happening here. So we'll still get off a really strong hit on Mimikyu, and honestly, Mimikyu is going to struggle to do as much damage to us. The opposing Electro is going to go for Taunt. This is really fine because we do have the Mental Herb, so I'll honestly take this. And Mimikyu should still not only get put to sleep before it manages to get off a Trick Room, but it should also just get completely massacred now, which is great because this is the only Trick Room setter that I'm actually seeing on their side of the field. So this should harm the Mimikyu option of this team significantly, actually. Their team should crumble from here. And so Mimikyu is going to go to sleep. I don't actually mind even clicking Spore on Electrode. I don't think I really need to be completely honest. And I think what I can actually do here, I could just completely go for the Tera Steel on Mimikyu and just take that Pokemon out. And then as for the Electrode here, I'm actually going to go for a Pollen Puff because it'll do slightly more damage. If my opponent decides that they want to sack Electrode for whatever reason, so be it. We have now seen, let's see, what next Pokemon is going to come in. It's going to be Torkoal. Okay, so Torkoal does come in. This is still pretty okay by me. My opponent's probably going to go for a Taunt. Yep, okay, so Taunt does go off. That's really fine. I don't actually think I need to click a status move with Amoonguss the rest of this game, if I'm going to be honest. Because really, all I needed to click one for was to stop the Trick Room from going up. We're going to get a Pollen Puff off. It's just going to do okay damage, but that's all I really need. I actually popped the Air Balloon. I did not notice that beforehand, so I'm glad I did. We're going to go for Dark Pulse and Torkoal because my opponent's Dark Switch-in is literally just Tauros Paldea, which I'm kind of shocked they didn't go into, especially if it's Water or Fire, but neither here nor there. We're going to go for the... Oh, right. I meant to click Pollen Puff here, which we are going to click Pollen Puff on Electrode. I have a feeling that we'll be able to take out... Oh, no. Eerie Impulse. Okay. So Eerie Impulse is a little bit annoying. Maybe I should have tried to switch out of Hydreigon here. But it shouldn't be too big of a deal, to be fair. Is that really AV Torkoal? I purely ask because of how much that sponge hit. I know we are -2, but I still feel like we should have taken that better. We're going to get burned on Hydra. Honestly, fine. I'm going to switch out here because Hydra's still pretty useful in the late game against this team, especially because we are immune to Garchomp Earthquake. We're resistant to both of its stabs, potentially. I'm going to bring in Tyranitar here, and I'm going to try and clear my opponent's Sun. And on Amoonguss, I'm going to click I'm honestly going to click Pollen Puff. I'm going to click Pollen Puff again on Electrode. I don't really need the Pokemon around, to be honest. I just need to get damage off of my opponent. And that's really all I need to do. From here, when I do bring in the Tyranitar, I'm probably going to go for Dragon Dance and then go for Rock Slide because my opponent's only real switch into that would be Garchomp. And I do have other counterplay that can suffice for taking out Garchomp, so I'm not really too concerned here. Plus, when I get the +1 speed up, I'll really only get outpaced by Scarf Chomp or any sort of speed boosting Salak Chomp. So I could still actually probably double target that and be fine. Wild Charge is going to go off on Amoonguss. Not really a big deal in all honesty. If anything, this is just taking out my opponent quicker. And we've now revealed my opponent has Wild Charge, Taunt, and Eerie Impulse in their set. Amoonguss will go down. Don't really mind this because I could just bring right back in. I'm actually going to probably bring in the Rotom. I'm pretty sure I want to bring in Rotom here. Let's see what I can bring in here. Because I feel like that Rotom's probably my best play. Because I do want to preserve Hydreigon a little bit, and I can go for Protect on Rotom into a Dragon Dance on Tyranitar. And if my opponent decides that they do want to go for some sort of attack on Tyranitar or like a taunt on Tyranitar, I'm pretty okay with that. I just feel like it would be in my best interest to try and set up this Dragon Dance here. My opponent's going to withdraw Torkoal. Really don't mind this. They're going to probably bring in Garchomp here. I am fairly certain they're going to bring in Garchomp. They're going to bring a Mimikyu, actually. Okay. So this works out pretty well as long as my opponent doesn't go for the taunt on Tyranitar. They're going to go for Eerie Impulse, actually. Okay, so this is perfect. What I can do next, I can go for Thunderbolt on the Mimikyu spot into a Rock Slide, and that should be really strong damage. I'm not going to worry about potentially going for, let's say, a Will-O-Wisp, predicting a swap, or anything of that sort. I could also potentially, I guess, go for another Dragon Dance, but there's no real reason to do that. I should be able to take out Electrode on the following turn thanks to Sand damage, actually, even if I do miss it with Rock Slide. So as long as I hit the Mimikyu here, I should be pretty good. We're going to go for dual Rock Slide, and I'm going to go for Thunderbolt into the Mimikyu. Should be enough to take it out, in all honesty. I can't see a world where we don't. If my opponent goes into Garchomp or Torkoal, or Tauros here, that should still be pretty good damage on that slot. So really, as long as it doesn't come in from the Electrode spot, we should be fine. And even still, again, Electrode dies to like one more turn of Sand. I'm not really too concerned about this Pokemon. Tyranitar is going to get taunted. Don't really care about this, in all honesty. Taunt's really probably the last of my worries here, in all honesty. And yeah, Mimikyu should die as well as the Electrode. That should be really good for us. That means that I can swap out Tyranitar and clear Torkoal's Sun, make it significantly less of a threat, while I also then go for T-Bolt into Torkoal and make that also do less damage with Eruption overall. And from there, it's just about what my opponent goes into with their other Pokemon. The only thing I think that will stop this series of plays would be if my opponent specifically goes into Garchomp here. I think if my opponent goes into Garchomp, I'll probably just crunch it instead of switching out, and I'll go for the Will-O-Wisp there. They're actually going to go on to Rotom. Okay. So then yeah, I feel like it's actually still in my best interest to just stay in. Because with Rotom in, I could just Rock Slide. There's actually no counterplay to Rock Slide plus T-Bolt into the Rotom spot. Because even with my Rock Slide going off, it's just going to be super effective on Torkoal, obviously. But Rotom, it would have to basically Tera into like a Steel or Ground-type Rotom. Which, if it really does, good play by my opponent. But I can just go for Draco on it next turn, and I'm not concerned at all. Or if specifically if it's Tera Steel, I'll just go for Flamethrower with Hydreigon on it. So again, not really concerned at all. And Torkoal should take enough damage, so I'm not concerned. I'm going to guess that's probably Tera Fire Torkoal, and it's probably going to go for Eruption here with the Tera boost. So be it. I don't care a ton about Torkoal, I'm going to be completely honest. At this point, it should just be kind of fodder for my team. So what's my opponent going to do here? Are they going to Tera the Rotom? They're going to Tera the Torkoal. Okay, so it's definitely Tera Fire. It's Tera Grass, actually. Very, very interesting play, but again, I don't overly mind. They've now made themselves weak to fire, which is great for Hydreigon when it comes in later. Rock Slide should still do a good amount of damage anyway. Like this Eruption's going to do no damage, so they're going to have to go for Heat Wave, which should still be pretty good for me. They're going to get Citrus popped on Rotom. Okay, I'm fine with this. And let's see, how much is this Heat Wave going to do? It should do basically no damage to my, really to either of these Pokemon. It's going to go for Solar Beam here. Okay, so again, I don't entirely mind this. What's my opponent going to actually do here? They're going to Solar Beam. Is it going to be in the Rotom or the Tyranitar? It's going to be Rotom. Okay, so my opponent kind of choked. I will say, if they targeted into the Rotom spot, they could have actually maybe won. Not the Rotom, the Tyranitar spot. They could have maybe won. Even still, a bit unlikely to be fair, but they could have. From here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go for the Flamethrower on the Torkoal, and I'm going to go for Crunch on Rotom. Biggest reason for this is I want to get a single target attack off on Rotom, and one also that will guarantee it to land, and the Flamethrower should be enough to take out Torkoal. I also guarantee Outpace anyway, so I'm pretty okay with this. Plus, just guaranteeing that Torkoal is 100% gone is probably the best thing I could do. My opponent goes for Protect on Rotom, which, I'll be honest, I'm not sure why they made this play, because if I went for Rock Slide, I still guarantee to take out Torkoal, and I could dual target it next turn with these two. I feel like objectively their play was hope I could Rock Slide it, and that they dodged, and that I attacked Torkoal with the single target spot, I guess, just for some sort of damage on T-Tar, maybe take that out, and hope they could take a Hydreigon hit. So, I guess this is something that they, in theory, could do, but why? Regardless, we're going to go for Crunch on Rotom, and I'm going to go for Dark Pulse on Rotom. All I need to do at this point is just get off attacks. I don't need them to be strong attacks, and my opponent forfeits anyway. Beautiful. We are at 1-0 for the day. I will certainly take that. And with that said, let's move right on to Game 2. Moving on to Game 2, we have a Dozogiri team. Dondozo, Tatsugiri, Arcanine, Goldengo, Sylveon, and Meowscarada. I feel like I've seen this team as one of the top cutting teams or something of that sort, but I'm genuinely forgetting. With that said, though, looking at this matchup, I'm definitely going to lead off with... I kind of want to lead off with a Mungus plus Hydreigon. I feel like, again, this is a pretty strong lead. I don't know if I'm going to inherently go for Tera Steel early on, to be fair, but I think I'm definitely going to lead off with Hydreigon here. It should be a pretty good option for most of this team, and if Sylveon leads, I can go for Tera Steel on that. Otherwise, I probably won't just yet. As far as a Mungus, though, it should be really good for Tatsugiri Dondozo. If that is the specific lead core, I'm probably going to switch out Hydreigon into Rotom Wash, and then I'm going to go for Clear Smog. And I'll have Skeledirge in the back, because Skeledirge should be pretty decent if my opponent decides to go for some sort of Tera Steel set, because I can probably go for Tera Fairy at that point. Or actually, no, I'm not going to go for Tera Fairy. I'm going to probably still, regardless, have Skeledirge in the back. It should be pretty decent for Tera Steel sets, because I can Torch Song past them, and I also kind of just sponge that in general. With that said, though, good luck and fun to my opponent, and let's get started. What's my opponent going to lead off with here? They're going to lead off with Dondozogiri. Okay, perfect. So quite literally, I'm going to switch out. Actually, I don't even know why I said I would go into Rotom. Though, I guess Rotom, to be fair, should wall like everything this wants to go for outside of Order Up. So, they're going to raise the attack, special attack, and then obviously also the speed, and then the defense and SPDF stat. So, we'll take that. Okay. So, turn 1, I'm going to go for the Clear Smog here on the Dondozo, and I'm going to go for the Skeledirge. Skeledirge should be able to chew any hit from this because it does have Unaware, which means that my opponent is going to probably do around like 30%, because Dondozo just doesn't have that sort of damage to take on defensive Skeledirge. Like, it's just not boosted enough to do that. So, we should be pretty good against this. I can't really see a world where my opponent actually gets off any sort of extreme defensive hit here, I guess, for lack of a better term. Let's see. So my opponent's going to bring in, let's see. So they're actually going to go for the Terastal here. It's definitely Terastal Steel, right? This is 100% Terastal Steel. It is Terastal Grass, actually. Okay, so it's very interesting, but still benefits Skeledirge a lot, in all honesty. So I will definitely take this. They probably did predict Rotom actually coming in here, so it's definitely fairly interesting to say the least. They're going to go for Earthquake here. Why did I? Oh, never mind. I was gonna say, why did I avoid the attack? But I didn't avoid the attack. It was Tatsugiri that avoided the attack. So that makes a lot more sense here. Let's see. So with my leftovers on Skeledirge, I should be able to absolutely, yeah. Okay, so we're literally like 3 KO'd by this. I'm gonna go for the Pollen Puff again onto the spot. Actually, I'm gonna go for Clear Smog, because they're going for what you call it, for Earthquakes instead of actually boosting up further. From here, I'm going to go for the Slack Off. If my opponent decides to go for Substitute here, so be it. They're going to go for Wave Crash, actually. Still shouldn't take me out. We just barely do take that. Perfect. I'm going to go for Protect next turn, as I go for just any sort of leftovers recovery. Dondozo has now been weakened, so it won't even do a ton of damage to a Mungus anymore. And we actually nearly take this thing out, which is beautiful. We crit it. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. But even still, Pollen Puff next turn should be doing a lot more damage to this Pokemon anyway, considering the fact that my opponent now has lost their SPDF boost, which means that not only was Skeledirge getting around this anyway, but also a Mungus is getting around it. So I'm not too concerned. I think even with the crit, to be fair, all it mattered for was maybe I Pollen Puff this thing a single time. But I'm going to go for a Protect. I don't want to pop Skelders as Terastal just yet, because I do think that in general, I have better options against this team. Specifically speaking, Hydreigon is probably my best option here, especially without Arcanine, since they have already popped the Terastal, and without Arcanine, they're kind of getting walled by Hydreigon. Goldengo would still get sponged even if I did Terastal anyway, since I would still be chewing Shadow Pulse thanks to Assault Vest. And also, I mean, I don't really see a world where Tatsugiri does a lot of damage to Hydra. Sylveon's not going to do any damage to Hydra, especially without Terastal. And Masquerade is, I guess, at best, clicking low kick. So I think Hydreigon's definitely my best option. And the fact that we're able to take out Dondozo here is pretty huge in my opinion. So from here, I'm curious about what my opponent's going to go into next. Tatsugiri is objectively going to be on the field. I don't really mind this. This core is so good again around Dondozo Giri. If you're struggling with Dondozo Giri, use the team down below or use the rental code for it. This team is, in my opinion, probably been the easiest Tatsugiri Dondozo matchup I've ever had. And while I don't think the core is objectively broken, there's been times when it has definitely been able to muscle past us, as we saw in the last team with Titan, for example, where Terastal Steel was able to really get around our typical counterplay, which is why I knew, of course, though, as I said in that vid, it's a learning experience, which is why I knew to then bring Skelders for this matchup, because if it was Terastal Steel, I still had it now. My opponent from here is going to go into Masquerade. This is perfectly fine. I will say, with Masquerade coming in here, this might actually be a play for me to go for Terastal. Actually, no, I don't even really need to. I'm going to go for Torch Song. I should still be able to actually chew any sort of hit this wants to go for anyway. I'm going to dual target just in the off chance that either A, for some reason, Skelders gets outpaced by Tatsugiri, which it should, to be fair. It's base 85. But I should get outpaced on both fronts. Again, I'll take this. Neither of these Pokemon are really essential to my win con here. And in case of this is Focus Sash, which was point number 2, in case it's Focus Sash, I should be able to take this out pretty fine. It ended up being Life Orb, so it didn't really matter a ton. And in hindsight, maybe I could have Pollen Puffed the Skelders, but I don't really mind this. We're basically up 4-2 at this point, and I have enough Pokemon in the back to where I'm pretty okay with this sequence of turns. As far as what I'm going to do next turn goes, we already have seen the Tatsugiri dropping its special attack by 2. It can't even switch out to Clear this either, though I will say I know it does get Nasty Plot. My opponent's going to bring in for their final Pokemon, the Sylveon. Okay, so no Goldengo or Arcanine. Really glad I preserved Terastal here, because going for Terastal Steel is going to be my win con. Just in the off chance that my opponent ends up going for any sort of shenaniganry, I'm going to go for Pollen Puff into the Skeletor slot. We see that my opponent does take us out with Muddy Water here. Really okay with this, because all I need to do from here is bring in the Hydreigon, go for Terastal Steel. And then I should be able to just click Flash Cannon on Sylveon. I absolutely wall it to all hell and back. And on top of this as well, I also should be able to sponge any sort of Tatsugiri hits. I do have Rotom anyway to just Thunderbolt that, so I'm not too concerned here. And I can't really see a way that my opponent wins this. It's not like they can click Draco for a really strong hit, and even still, their Muddy Water's cut in half from Tatsugiri. Thunderbolt should still do good damage, at least on the neutral end, so I'm pretty okay with this. We're going to go for Flash Cannon. It should absolutely massacre Sylveon. If it doesn't OHKO, it's definitely going to be a clear 2-hit KO at the very least. Even if this was like some sort of Assault Vest build, which it's probably Throat Spray if we're going to be honest. It's almost certainly Throat Spray specs. So I'm not scared of Sylveon at all. It's going to be absolutely, completely fodder for my team in my opinion. The Terastal Steel is going to go off. Kind of shocked my opponent didn't forfeit again. I'll be honest, just like with the last game, I was shocked my opponent didn't forfeit. But you know what? We'll take it. Finishing a game is always fun. I'm glad that we're able to do so. Even if my opponent clicks Protect here, there's nothing my opponent can actually do to really stop me from getting off good damage here. We're going to see Rotom gets the Thunderbolt off. We're pretty okay with this. Flash Cannon's going to take it. Oh, it's Babiri Sylveon. Okay. So I guess that's why it's going to take it. But even still, Sylveon does no damage. It lost Mystical Fire this gen. And we're Assault Vest. That chewed a lot better than I thought it would. But this does at least point out that this was a clear 2-hit KO. So I'm still technically right about that. Tatsugiri's Taunt, not a concern for any of these things, I'll be honest. From here, what I guess I'll do, I'm going to go for... I think I'm going to go for T-Bolt into the Tatsugiri spot, and I'm going to go for the Flash Cannon into the Sylveon spot. Even if Sylveon clicks Protect here, I'm not overly concerned, because despite, obviously, you know, getting around my Hydreigon and putting that to sleep, at the same time, though, I can still guarantee take out the Tatsugiri next turn. And Sylveon can't do enough damage to where it's going to actually get past this core. It's just stalling for time at this point. That's really all my opponent's doing, which they'll see pretty shortly. Thunderbolt's going to massacre the Tatsugiri. Meanwhile, the Sylveon's going to have to deal with the Hydreigon once I do wake up. And between the -2 Tatsugiri as well as the Sylveon that has no way to actually touch me because it has at best Shadow Ball, I guess, to damage my Hydreigon, which I'm still Assault Vest. We're looking pretty. All right, we're looking pretty good here. I don't know why I said pretty, but it sounds kind of fun, I guess. Realistically, I'm expecting Muddy Water plus Hyper Voice here just for as much damage as possible on most of my Pokemon. Tatsugiri is cleared anyway, so just Sylveon at this point, which will either click Yawn or Hyper Voice here, objectively speaking. We've now burned 1 turn of sleep. My opponent has 2 more turns to actually win this game before they get taken out. We see that Hyper Voice does no damage to Hydreigon, and that was a crit too, keep in mind. Crit did 39 damage. That's basically like 1/6 of our health. Just in the off chance, I don't know if, I'm assuming it still keeps the redirect, but I'm not even going to attempt Fate there, because we have the win basically clutched up. Thunderbolt should do okay damage to this. I know it's a Spidef tank, but even still, we just need to stall until 1 more turn. At most 1 more turn. I'm pretty sure that next turn we wake up guaranteed, if not the turn after guaranteed. Either way, I'm okay with this. Citrus Rotom pops, so we'll just get a Thunderbolt off. And between Thunderbolt and Flash Cannon, this Pokemon is basically finished. So, Rotom shook off the taunt anyway. I kind of want to just BM and click Protect just to save diff, but at the same time, though, I don't really care. Plus, Thunderbolt can always para, crit, whatever. Again, doesn't really matter. We somehow got the maximum amount of turns to sleep on Hydreigon, which is pretty funny. Just goes to show that my opponent literally had 0 out here. Even if they clicked Yawn on Rotom, let's say, and got some really BM sleep turns, Hydreigon always won this anyway, because despite the Protect plus the Hyper Voice, the Protect plus Yawn shenaniganry, my opponent would still have to then, by clicking Protect every time, let's say if Rotom was asleep, and they click Protect on Hydreigon to try and stop it from getting off damage before Yawn put it into effect, they would also be stalling through turns that Rotom is asleep for, which means that it's more turns that Rotom could burn through before it has to wake up, less damage it takes overall. So they really had no way of winning this game. It was truly just trying to stall timer, though they had no way of winning off if anyway. Regardless though, we're 2-0 for the day. We're going to try and get in 1 more match before we end off. So with that said, I'll see you guys in Game 3. Moving on to our final team of the day, we do have our old nemesis, Psyspam. Now this team has a lot better of a matchup against Psyspam than our previous teams did. Even with the Sun aspect, I feel like this is pretty alleviated considering the fact we do have Dual Dark in this matchup actually. And we have Assault Vest Hydreigon. So Hydreigon's literally like the perfect counter to these Armor Rouge teams. This team also has Glimmora, which is pretty weird in all honesty. I'm kind of shocked to see it. But I will say maybe it's Corrosion for like Amoonguss matchups, or maybe, maybe it's just Toxic Debris because it's uncommon. I don't know. I don't really know. They could have also maybe brought a singles team to doubles. Well, no, because the top 3 scream doubles. I'm very curious. Maybe this is meant to be like a hybrid singles doubles team. Or again, maybe Glimmora has some weird tech I'm not sure about. Regardless, I'm definitely going to lead off with, I want to say, Hydreigon for sure. Hydreigon's definitely leading here. I think that my other Pokemon I'm going to lead with is going to be the Rotom. I'm going to bring the Tyranitar in the back. And I think last one kind of has to be Skelly. I anticipate that I'll probably be Terraing Skelly this game instead of Hydreigon, because Tera Fairy could be pretty decent at least to catch King Gambit off guard a little bit, though I'm not entirely sure if I'm even going to Tera at all this game, I'll be honest. I think Tera might actually genuinely hold me back here. I could have maybe brought Goldengo or Amoonguss and went for Tera on those, and that could have had merit, but even still, I don't really know because I don't like either of their presences here, I'll be honest. Armor Rouge indeed he does lead off. Okay, so this is perfectly fine. At the very least, it's not like one of those weak armor teams where it's popping the weak armor immediately. I'll certainly take this. As far as my opponent goes, I'm definitively not going to go for Tera. By going for Tera, it makes me not only weak to Armor Rouge, but I have an immunity to Expanding Force as well as a resistance to Heat Wave. So objectively speaking, my play is always to go for Dark Pulse on Armor Rouge and to go for a Thunderbolt on Armor Rouge. Because I'm going to guess it's either Tera Fire or Tera Psychic. Whichever one it is, it doesn't really matter to me. I just need the damage off. That's all I care about. Because in the following turn, I should be able to guarantee nail Armor Rouge with Hydreigon. They're going to go for Tera Grass, actually, so they're built around trying to take out the Rotom. Perfectly fine, because my guess is that Torkoal's going to come in afterwards. And, okay, so they're going to go for Dark Pulse. And for Follow Me. That's fine. I'm still going to nail the Indeedee pretty easily. Thunderbolt's not going to do a lot, to be fair, but the Dark Pulse should do a good amount. We're going to see that, yeah, Dark Pulse takes this thing out entirely. Critical hit. I feel like even still, my play next turn, if Rotom wasn't specifically getting Tera Blast this turn, I was going to go for Protect plus Dark Pulse and take that mana out anyway. So with that in mind, I still don't exactly think that Indeedee would have lived another turn past turn 2, and it wouldn't have made a huge difference. Even still, one, we still wall this team very easily with Hydreigon. Hydreigon's only proving to wall this team even further. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to go for the Flamethrower on Armarouge. Oh, oops, not on Rotom, on Armarouge. Actually, hold on. So, Meowscarada is kind of interesting here. Because Meowscarada could end up having Play Off, which could be kind of scary. I think what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to switch out of Hydreigon here. I'm going to bring in Skeledirge. Skeledirge should pretty well sponge most of these hits, to be fair. And I think on Rotom, I'm just going to let it go down. Actually, I'm going to go for Protect here. I want to burn through a turn of Trick Room, truthfully. If my opponent decides to Terra Blast it into the Rotom spot, plus Play Off into the Skeledirge spot, I should shoot with both. I would say this is an instance where I might actually go for Terra. Because with the Terra, I should be able to not only still massacre Armarouge with Torch Song, I should also be able to potentially wall out any sort of Dark Attack that Meowscarada would go for. So I feel like it's in my best interest here. Expanding Force should do a good amount of damage to Skeledirge. Yeah, it nearly OHKOs. We're seeing Life Orb Armarouge, which is great. No policy. I will take that. We're going to see the Protean Fairy Pop on Meowscarada. We avoid. I will definitely take that. That's pretty lucky for me, I will say, to be fair. I don't know if I'll necessarily have died because it's not Life Orb. It's probably Banded, to be fair, but it's definitely not Life Orb. We're going to go for the Terastal Fairy here, though. If my opponent underpaces us, so be it. I don't think they will, even with the Trick Room popping. We're going to go for the Thunderbolt on the Meowscarada spot, just in case, because worst case scenario, my opponent, I guess, goes into Torkoal here, which would weaken water attacks, but it's still, Thunderbolt's still a consistent hit, and again, it's just about getting damage at all off. Doesn't matter how much at this point, because I don't really need this for the long term. Rotom's kind of fodder. Regardless, though, we're going to go for the Terastal Fairy here. If my opponent goes for Expanding Force and underpaces, so be it. I still have Dual Dark in the back. We see the Torch Song is going to go off anyway. Oh, they're Flash Fire. Shit. I forgot about that. I should have went for the Meowscarada. 100% on me. I forgot this even has Flash Fire's ability. I was too used to seeing weak armor. Okay, that was a really bad play, actually. But still, honestly, this mon wasn't too useful to my endgame. I care a lot more about my Dual Dark core, so I'll certainly take this. And even with the fact that my opponent does still have Meowscarada here, I can actually probably use this to my benefit. Because, one, oh wow, we still chew this. Okay. So we'll bring in Dual Dark and then, okay, not a big deal. So what I'll go for here, I'm going to go into Tyranitar and, actually, I think, yeah, we have Tyranitar and Hydreigon here. We're going to bring in these. I'm going to go for the Rock Slide on Tyranitar, and I'm going to go for the Flash Cannon on Armarouge, on Meowscarada. Because I want to ensure that I'm guaranteed taking out the Meowscarada here. I can't let it play off me because I think that's where I lose this game. I think even despite the Flash Fire hit, in all honesty, we're still pretty okay here. All I need is damage on Armarouge because it's going to weaken itself, and Hydreigon should still wall it very, very easily with Assault Vest. Even with the Flash Fire boost, I still sponge this thing very, very comfortably. If Torkoal comes in, even still, I will still sponge this Pokemon very comfortably. I think at worst, it's like a 3-hit KO. Armor Cannon's going to go off. Even despite the Flash Fire boost, I'm still chewing this with Assault Vest. As we see, it does no damage at all. And they're dropping their defenses, which means that they'll be even worse off against Tyranitar, which is great for me. They're taking Life Orb hits. They're going to weaken their defenses. Perfect. Okay, Meowscarada's gone. Flash Cannon should still do a good amount. We see in its Life Orb, it's not any sort of really bulky set. At most, it's like max HP, I guess. Maybe a little bit of Spit F in there. But Armarouge is also gone now. Beautiful. So they have a single Pokemon left. It is not Indeedee, it is not Armarouge, and it is not Meowscarada. My guess is that this last Pokemon is probably Kingambit. It's probably Kingambit or Torkoal. Though I feel like they would have brought in Torkoal to try and boost that Armor Cannon. I feel like that would have been the play. Kingambit comes in. Okay. So Kingambit's a little bit tricky, actually. I do need to make sure that I get rid of Trick Room here, which I believe we have one more turn of. One more turn of Trick Room, yeah, okay. So it's in my best interest here to click Protect. Actually, So this is a little bit of a predicament I've had myself in. Because my opponent can always just go for a Steel move here, and that would be pretty bad. I'm going to go for a Crunch here, and I'm going to go for a Flamethrower. They're probably going to attack into the Hydreigon spot. Yep, Iron Head goes off. Okay, that OHKOs. So this is where going for the attack into Skeledirge makes a big difference. Because otherwise, I could have actually probably been fine, but now I actually lose the game, unless I Rock Slide Flinch my opponent the entire game. They're going to pop Defiant here. That makes a lot of sense. They're Defiant. I still kind of had to bank on this because my end goal here is to go for Rock Slide Flinches. So we're going to go for Rock Slide here, and I got to basically hope that I can flinch my opponent the entire game. we get 1 attack. Do we flinch? No flinch. Okay, yeah, they're gonna Oko. Very unfortunate, but you know what? 2-1 for the day is still pretty good. I will say, definitely should have probably been a little more cautious with the armors. But you know what? I'm still okay with this because I think that in the end, I mean, we could have definitely taken out Meowscarada. That would have kept Rotom around. Yeah. Okay, so I definitely choked a bit. Definitely choked a bit for sure. Well, actually, I don't know if it mattered. I don't know if it mattered. Because I'm pretty sure that we still lost that anyway to King Gambit, actually, with this team comp. I think this is one of those scenarios where Amoonguss might have made the difference over Rotom. But you know what? It's fine. 2-1 for the day is still pretty good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And if you did, leave a like and subscribe for more. Shout out to channel members, of course, being Josh K Ultra Player, Mia, and Zeke0. If you guys want to support the channel today, the link to that is down below, as well as to our Twitter and Discord. You could stay up to date on future content, and we get to interact a little bit more. So with that said, I will see you guys in tomorrow's video where we're going to be doing another singles game. Until then, peace out, guys.